This is my Logic 7 video. This came off a 08 BMW 750 Li or E66. As you can tell, this is the amp. Let me show you a little bit. Got a little magnifying glass and then soldering gun, capacitors, flux, and all the other good stuff. Gonna put on a repair kit and change out some capacitors. But first of all, we're gonna check it out. So, word is general advice. This fucker was not easy to take out of my car, no matter what those videos say. There is a video where somebody shows you how to take it out. It is accurate. However, I fucking struggled. It was really hard, but I did get it out. So we're going to take it apart and we're going to look at some capacitors, see if that's the problem. Okay, time to open the top of the amp. You got to be careful because you will bend these things. I don't know, it looks like maybe it won't come back if I close it, but the only real way to open it is with a screwdriver, flathead, and you get underneath these tabs right here. As you can see, I don't know if you can see with the camera, but I already bent this one, but trial and error. So I imagine now that it's bent, it can just pop open and there it is. But just be careful, guys, because you can't damage it. You are going to need a T set of I don't know what the proper name is, but I know it's like a T8, T10, the proper fittings for your screwdriver. One that goes like this. This is a Phillips, but I got the T set. I'll show you in just a bit. But you're going to need that to remove the pieces of motherboard. Okay, as far as removing this ribbon cable, when you order that repair kit from those people in Europe, they send you a fucking horrible PDF file that kind of explains on what you're doing. But I'm telling you right now, that thing's horrible. That's exactly why I'm making this video. This clip right here is real easy to break, but if you could see that, it just lifts out of its thing completely. See how it goes back in there? I busted this clip right here. I don't think it'll affect me because it snugs in there when you plug it in. It snugs in real nice, and this side clip right here will grab it for me. But I already broke the clip on this side, just figuring out how to take it apart. And I didn't want to pull the ribbon right here. And the good thing I didn't, because it would have just pulled it out of its grooves. The thing comes out straight out, just like this. Just so you know. Like I said, the PDF file they send you with pictures is just fucking sucks. I mean, you might as well not even send it. It's absolutely useless. As you can see in my box, none of the capacitors appear to be blown. Well, at least visually. You know, visually when you look at them, they'll have a fat top, like if it wants to bust open. Take a look at Google pictures on blown capacitors to see what I'm talking about. They just look like a piece of bread that stayed in water too long, just explodes internally. I'm gonna check it with the multimeter to make sure that none of them are actually blown. If none of them are blown, then I guess I don't have to replace any capacitors. These are the 2 amps that the modification is going to do. These 2 black spots. I'm basically going to get a heat gun or a soldering iron and melt it till the amp caps come off. And I'm going to build a mod by punching 2 holes right here. It's basically taking the amps off the circuit board. The theory of their mod is to take the amps off the circuit board so it doesn't get as hot, and it's connected to a heat sink that's going to connect to your side right here. We're going to modify 2 holes to hold it in place. But basically it takes these 2 amp chips and suspends them in the air with a heat sink so that they stay cooler for longer, I guess. Okay guys, once you take the ribbon cable off for the circuit board, we're going to have to pull the clips out from the amps and these 2 clips on this side. Now I've already pulled these 2 out, and the easiest way to do that is if you look at the box, it's got these points right here. So what I did is I got my flathead and I kind of pushed it to start it, and once it pushes up like this, then you could just stick your flathead in there like this way and just kind of wiggle it out. That's what holds the bottom circuit board into place. Here, I'll show you this next one where I just pop it up just like this to give it a head start. Just like that. See how it popped up, and then just stick it in here. Kind of just wiggle it out, and that should set the bottom circuit board free. We also have a power cable or actually a fan cable right here. And if you can see the size of that fan, that's probably why your capacitors and amps blow. That's not really a big enough fan to cool 2 circuit boards, if you ask me. So we'll pull this power cable out, which usually these just pop right off. Shouldn't be no big deals like the PS4 and PS3. See that? This cable right here. Try to grab it by the. If you got a pair of tweezers, it'd probably be a lot better, but they just pop out. There's no clips involved. Alright guys, I got the second circuit board out. I misread the file. It was in there and I thought this panel had to come out, but it didn't. I already bent it back in place as best as I could. But this part right here is inside like this. And you basically have to push it in and at the same time lift it up. Hope I saved you a lot of shit for doing that. Almost destroyed mine. So once again, it's like this, and you have to push it in and lift up at the same time after you've disconnected your power adapter, of course. Okay, now we can move on. As you can see, it doesn't appear that any of my capacitors are blown. They all look like they're in good condition. And the problem seems to be these 2 amps right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a heat gun to this side of the circuit board and basically melt the solder off so that these amp chips can come off. I was able to do some videos on checking capacitors. Apparently we have to pull these off the circuit board. You can't check them while they're on the circuit board, according to what I've been reading. Went to go buy a capacitance multimeter. I really suggest you get one of these. This will save you a lot of trouble. Gonna try to attempt to take these capacitors off one by one and check them. It's gonna be a pain in the ass. As you can see, it's got this gooey gel. I guess it's meant to hold them together. So I got me a heat gun. I'm gonna melt it off. And basically, what you do is you have a capacitor right here, and here is its tie-in point, and you gotta put the soldering gun with the desoldering wick is what I bought to take the solder off. And we'll pull off the capacitors and check them one by one. Alright man, let's get started. Here's the capacitor. And we're going to test it out with the capacitance multimeter. I recommend you get tweezers, a flathead screwdriver, alcohol, some alcohol pads. You're going to need all that when you do this job. And here you just go to positive to negative. Set it at 20,000 microfarads. And this one is registering 625. When I tested it out on the board, it didn't test out like that. It tested out way stronger. That's why you don't test it on the circuit board, because I guess it's connected to everything, so you're testing everything at the same time. This one is 628. I believe it's supposed to be 68 or 682, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the new one. We'll test it against the new one. It's 628, the one I just pulled off. And let's take it off the meter. 628. And we'll do this one. This one is reading 657. Okay guys, sorry for the shitty camera angles, man. I'm by myself, but using the soldering gun. I got a lamp head or a headlamp on, my bad, and using this wick or I don't know what they call it, but I put the soldering iron right on top of it, and as soon as it starts to smoke, I just scrub it like that. It gets most of it. I've gotten better. This is my third one, and I've gotten better at taking off the solder, so that's a good sign. I'm gonna film myself doing the third one. In case you didn't know, you got to clean it with an alcohol pad. I got alcohol and strong paper towels, real fabricy like an alcohol pad. I'm putting on the capacitors that tested over 670. After you wipe it off with alcohol, you need something called flux, which is this stuff right here, and a brush. And I think I told you guys, make sure you look at a video on YouTube about how to solder. This stuff right here is very important because your solder won't stick to the circuit board if it don't have this stuff on it. I don't know the exact science of it, but I like to dab it on there just a bit. Let me just show you. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see, but I dab just a bit on the top. This stuff liquefies. As a matter of fact, I plugged the two holes that the capacitor's going in, and then back here too. I'll give it a little extra. Now you'll see how I have this capacitor. The orientation is also critical. I have a picture that I keep looking at, but the negative on the first one is on the left, and then the two on the back of this one, the negative is going to be on the right. So if you don't remember, the negative is that right there. You can see the negative sign. There'll usually be a stripe like that with some kind of marking. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this one. I don't put the solder directly on the gun. I kind of let the soldering gun get hot right here. Watch, you'll see. And let it draw it to it. There it goes. You can hear the soldering. I mean the flux. There it is, right there. All this side is switched out. This side I didn't touch. If you look at my soldering job, it ain't the greatest, but you can see where I got really good. And this is where I started, but I started to get in the hang of it. I'm gonna put it together. Try it out in the beamer. By the way, I have it's an 08 750 Li, and I'm filming with a Canon T2i DSLR, 18 to or 17 to 35. What is that? 17 to 35 L series lens. Okay guys, trying to steady this camera. Probably the hardest part was taking off this damn chip. As you can see, the chip is over here untouched. If we turn the motherboard around, you can see those chips right there. That one right there, and that one right there. If we turn the motherboard around, or circuit board, you see I took this one off. I tried to do it with a heat gun, and the capacitor fell off. So I'm about to solder that little one back in. Anyways, the best way to do it, if you can see, this one is still there, right there. I took this one off, still needs to be cleaned up. But let me tell you what the best way to do that is. You see that chip right there, which I have right here. I'm gonna put it back on. What I should have done was left it like that, and you get your soldering iron, just hold it there. Hold it on there for about a minute, maybe 2 minutes without stopping. And as you're holding it with one hand, in your other hand you need something very thin, like this type of screwdriver or a razor blade. So while you're holding the soldering on one side with one hand, your other hand you're picking it like this after about 2 minutes, and then it should just fall out. I tried to do it with a heat gun. It was a big mistake. It's better to do it with a soldering iron because it's a little bit more concentrated. Well, as you can see, didn't do too good of a job on it, but that's where you want to get to, because now we're gonna solder those little wires onto little pieces. If you look closely, You can see the little sections on the circuit. Trying to hold it steady. Okay, man. I've done it. I'll recommend you just fucking send it in, because this was a lot of bullshit work. But as you can probably see, I got really good at the soldering towards the end. So maybe you should just practice before you try it. Practice for like 6 or 7 hours, because that's about what it came out to. This is the heat sink. The amp chips are in here. They're attached to this heat sink, and then the wires come out of the amp chip into where the amp chip used to be. The purpose of doing it like this is to have this amp chip suspended in the air with the heat sink so it stays cool and doesn't burn out your capacitors, I imagine. I got 2 more wires to connect, which is this black and white. They're gonna go right here underneath that capacitor right there. And then if you see those 2 tiny little holes right there, one of them's gonna go, the ground's gonna go right there on the left, tiny little hole, and that's it. Like I said, all this whole project was a pain in the fucking ass, and next time I would just send it off to get fixed. Fuck it. Alright, man, it's set. There's the power wires. One goes to the capacitor and one goes to that hole, like I said. So the whole assembly is assembled. But the dimensions call from the end of the plate 3 inches this way. There's my first dot for the 3 inches, and it's 2 inches from the top of the plate down. So if you look at it, I'm trying to get that there. 2 inches down, there's the hole, and it's 3 inches from here. And then the next hole is exactly 1 inch center to center in the holes. So this is where I'm gonna punch holes with my drill. So, okay, guys, there's the holes. Try to focus. Remember, 3 inches from this wall, 2 inches from the top of the steel, and 1 inch from center to center of the holes. Alright, there she goes. Looks like my measurements weren't that bad. So there's the mod. Let me see if hope you can see that. So the amp chips are right here, and they're suspended with a heat sink to keep it cool, because that's where it gets really fucking hot. Alright, ready to put the amp back together. Pain in the fucking ass. If it happens again, I will send it away to get fixed. It was too much of a pain in the ass for me. Let's go install it. Hopefully I didn't fuck it up.